For those who have joined us on the stream, we encourage you to share the stream. Bruce Foko has already joined us, a couple of you. Rafose Bonsu, and a number of you also already on the stream. Kweku Aaron joining us from, we're talking about Kofodia. Now let me just introduce our guest for the morning. Lawyer Apia Dankwa, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So enjoying his time off. That's the legal vacation, you call it? Yeah.
Yes.
But you're still working. I mean, ultimately. You warned me about that, so I know that you're always working. Malik Basintali is also here. Good morning to you, Malik.
Good morning.
I see you're already jotting down things.
I had a very tired day yesterday.
Okay.
So I stayed throughout the night to read the 24-page document from the special prosecutor. And at the point, we'll get into the conversation.
Well, certainly. Lawyer Jantwa, Kwame Jantwa, the son of Jantwa. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Not too fine, but I'm okay.
You're okay.
I'm a bit under the weather.
You're a bit under the weather. We thank God. There's a flu going round, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But let me say good morning to all of you again. Nelson Akotia, Sullivans, Patrick Kubesika, Joseph Akasokri, a number of you, Aziz Zachary. Please make sure you share the stream. Let's have some great conversations. In the meantime, we'll run you through the highlights of the special prosecutor's current statement on the Airbus saga. They call it Airbus scandal right here in Ghana. So we'll let you know the latest. And then we'll have some insights from him as well as the former president, the man himself in the picture, because the OSP investigation found no evidence that former president was involved or played in a role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and his associates. The OSP also found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communication meetings between the former president and officials of Airbus to close the deal amounted to any corruption and corruption-related offense. So we have others as well. Now let's get to the insights quickly so that, well, now let's hear from the special prosecutor himself, and then after, the former president also follows suit. And then we'll start the discussions.
Special prosecutor has directed the closure of the OSP investigation into alleged bribery of high-ranking Ghanaian officials by Airbus SC. The OSP will not institute criminal proceedings against any person in respect of this investigation.
The OSP
as the president referred it to the OSP, and the OSP is supposed to investigate it. You don't expect me to investigate myself. And so, if they had something to stand on, I'll not be standing here today. It's just a political gimmick. When elections are coming, then they start raising all kinds of issues and all that kind of thing. But I remain focused.
And the former president's statement was in response to a question during his meeting with the media. Kempiski right here in Accra that Sunday evening. Went late into the evening, I have to say. And in effect, in my own interpretation, he said it was rabble-rousing. What do you make of this? Lawyer Apia Dankwa.
So let me take this opportunity to wish your viewers a good morning. Always a pleasure to be in the company of my big brother, Lawyer Jantwa and Akola Nyame.
Who? Akola Nyame. Baby with sharp teeth.
Well, that's the word on the street.
Okay.
the guy who puts fear and causes GTV. Personally, always a pleasure. I hope we'll see what fire this morning. Yeah, so in the matter of the Airbus scandal, I think this is a matter that involved an allegation against Airbus of paying bribes to procure for themselves contracts in certain regions. I think Ghana was mentioned. And I think in the run-up to the 2016 election, this Airbus issue and a certain official one became a huge political matter. In fact, brimstone and
Fire and brimstone
was placed on the head of His Excellency John Mahama for once again having exhibited or supposedly having exhibited his corrupt self in this Airbus issue. Honestly speaking, I actually thought judgment had been passed on the issue until I read the OSP's report yesterday, and I realized that, so when we were making so much noise about the Airbus thing, even in the courts where they were being handled, judgment had not been passed. Not so, because judgment was passed sometime in 2020, or some form of agreement which became a judgment.
Well, there were judgments in U.S. and British jurisdictions
in 2020. So in the run up to the 2016 elections, when we were attacking Mahama, in fact, the courts there had not pronounced any verdict. Anyway, so judgment was passed in 2020. Airbus entered into some form of agreement, agreed that the Airbus had, and some of their officials had, or Airbus had prevented their officials from partaking in what's called in alleged bribery in their attempt to procure contracts in certain regions, including Ghana. Mahama's brother's name was mentioned. One Samuel Foster, Adam Foster. Per the report, it turned out that he already had a contract with Airbus, an agency contract with Airbus, as in way before Mahama even became a minister. But central to the issues, or per the OSP's report, these issues are issues that bordered on potential conflict of interest, because he said, but for the supposed relationship between Mahama and his brother and the potential conflict of interest issues, then there would have been no need for all these hula-labu on the Airbus saga. Now, the matter was forwarded to the OSP by the president. So what it tells me is that the president appreciates issues that concerns conflict of interest, or the reasonable suspicion that will be brought to bear where you, the president, or public officers are seen to be dealing with their relatives or people, their friends, in matters that concerns public contracts. Because it was the president that forwarded the issue to the OSP, and then the OSP was saying that the issues that raised suspicion were issues that bordered on conflict of interest. And for me, I wouldn't say surprise me, but for me, it brings to the fore the issues about the lack of principle.
In what?
Because if you're the president of Ghana, you understood the issues. You appreciated that the major issue was Mahama's relationship with his brother, and whether or not there has been any breach of the principle of conflict of interest there. And that's why you push the matter to the OSP. And then we take the issues that concerns you and what's called your daughter's baby mama in the what's called ambulance issue. There's so many other issues of conflict of interest. The Champon what's called issue with the Snake hotels. You'll get a picture. MPP officials issues with Galamsey, and all the plenty issues that borders on conflict of interest. Beyond the fact that President Mahama, this report, has been exonerated, beyond the fact that we have in Ghana, or all of us, particularly the president and his party, have been exposed for turning every issue into politics, or trying to make partisan gain from every other issue. For me, it exposes the lack of principle in leadership here. Because if you, the president, you are ready to push a matter to the OSP because of the potential conflict of interest matters, because of the potential conflict of interest matters, I find it very surprising that, or for me, it tells us how unprincipled he is. If under his watch, this allegation, this ambulance issue, the Jankroman's baby daddy's issue, because when you're a leader, you should be governed by principle. If you say if A is A shouldn't become B because it's Basintali who is saying it. Yeah, so if you felt that President Mahama, in his capacity as vice president and later as president, because of the fact that the agent, somebody who was an agent way before his brother even became a minister, and because you suspected that because of that relationship, that familial relationship between President Mahama and his brother, somebody who apparently was even adopted by missionaries, who, because of that, you push this matter to the OSP. But under your watch, one of the critical issues we've had with the president is the lack of regard for the principles of conflict of interest. You understand? And the fact that the president has not done anything to suggest that he even respected or appreciated reasons why, where you are in public position, you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you stand to gain privately from your public service. And it for me shows a fundamental lack of principle, and puts in questions or reaffirms, I believe, that he had his own agenda to pursue when he became president, taking into consideration the current findings from the Itapadia what's called documents. You understand? If we desire to benefit fully from this democracy that we are all practicing, then it is essential that people in public positions recognize that sometimes they need to put the interest of the whole ahead of their interests. Because all this noise we made up with and accuse a president of Ghana that he had taken bribe. Do we understand the damage he did to even our country, especially when it turned out that it was much ado about nothing? Because I honestly thought that this case had been held and verdict had been given in the courts in England and in America. So if in 2015 and 2016, when this matter came to the fore, it was being tried, and judgment only came in 2020, and from the terms of the judgment, that's in terms of the settlement, the issues bordered on conflict of interest. I'm not just round up. Borders on conflict of interest. And you, the president, under your watch, there has been so many conflict of interest breaches, including you, the president yourself. I understand. Then, for me, I think beyond, I don't mind if people are going to jubilate because President Mahama has been exonerated. You understand? But I think the lack of appreciation for principle, you understand, should be a concern to all Ghanaians.
Okay. Well, so it looks like we certainly will have to look at what precedent has been set, and then also going forward, what deductions we can make from the conclusions that have been made by the OSP. Malik, what do you think?
You know, I was one of the people who told President Mahama that he shouldn't bother himself wasting his time. In fact, engaging anybody in whatever investigations were being done about him. I was one of the people.
Why not?
I thought that, look, President Mahama is someone I know. President Mahama is someone who would advise you, even privately, to do things so well that you don't get stained with corruption. But you see, every time I did that, President Mahama said one thing. He said, posterity will be the best judge, and that vindication lies in the womb of time. If I were Alhaji Bawumia, I would stop my campaign and come back to Accra, because the last lion straw they were holding on to has finally been exposed. In 2016, the sort of lies they peddled against President Mahama, and on which basis the Ghanaian people voted against President Mahama, today, the last one has been exposed. And the last one is the Airbus saga. At least, all lies against President Mahama were exposed on a daily basis till today. The last of them has finally been exposed. And so, Alhaji Bawumia, without any message in the communities, who continuously went around lying on President Mahama as his campaign message, what again does he have to tell the Ghanaian people? At this point, when he appears before them, I don't think he will have a single message again. Roland, 3 things have been deduced from this ruling. 1, it has called Bawumia, further called Bawumia, a liar. Because they were going around saying all sorts of things against President Mahama. Government official 1, he took bribe. He was involved in an Airbus deal. Today, Bawumia has further been called a master-class liar, so long as this ruling is concerned. Number 2, what it has taught us is that the entire MPP as a party, I thought we were dealing with a political party. But it appears as if they are a full entity of fake news, messengers of fake news.
Meaning what?
They went to town with fake news. They went to the markets with fake news. And even after this ruling, yesterday, I was listening to some of their communicators attempting to skew the report and turn it upside down and behave funny. And I was looking at them. They are a gross entity of fake news. And if we don't stop them, the future of this country is at stake. The third thing it does for us is that at least it has told you and I that the right precedent has been set. Tomorrow, when Bawumia's corrupt balls are being held to the test of time, let no man sneeze in this country. Yesterday, after the ruling, I said, look, this office of a special prosecutor has already called Nanado the mother serpent of corruption. It will be very easy to investigate somebody that has been called the mother serpent of corruption. Very easy. All you do to a mother serpent of corruption is to use 2 days in investigating him. And as for Bawumia, his case will be terrible. You know why? Look, President Akufo-Addo, at least, per the Constitution, is immune after 3 years. That is what we are asked to learn. And that is what I think we know.
You mean per article?
Constitutionally. That's what the Constitution, Article 57, absolutely.
57,
gives him some sort of immunity. But the Vice President, Alhaji Bawumia, he will laugh at the wrong side of his mouth. You know why?
But you don't determine
Look, yeah, I'm telling
Malik,
you.
don't determine.
But next year by this time, Bawumia will be PS1. PS1 means prime suspect 1. He will be PS1 in the 10,000 bags missing lily rice at the port. And in that one, the prosecution witness, who will be PW1, will be the Alhaji they stole his rice. Bawumia will be standing trial for the PDS scandal, that he changed the condition precedent to a condition subsequent, and as a result caused financial loss to the state. Today, we still go on arbitration at UK. Every week, the Attorney General spends Bank of Ghana's money in traveling to go and defend that case. Bawumia will be prime suspect 1 in the PDS scandal next year by this time, and will be in the witness box. Bawumia will have to explain to us how he learned how to take appearance fee. And where we come from, we don't even know Galamsey.
That's in relation
Bawumia has learned fast on the job, to the extent that Edubwai said, Bawumia, you need to pay $250,000 before you sit by him and discuss concession matters, and he will give to you. In the investigation of the OSP didn't bring finality to that matter. He said Bawumia's corruption is so big that his office cannot even investigate, and we need to pass a Corrupt Practices Act. You remember, Roland? And after that passing of that act, we'll come back again and sit Bawumia down, because the level of his corruption is gargantuan. Next year by this time, Bawumia will be prime suspect 1 again in the appearance fee matter. Next year by this time, Bawumia will explain to us how they inflated sole source contracts to his brother. And all the Teshi roads, including renovation of the Sunyani Airport, was given to his brother, direct brother, okay, Abraham Bawumia, at a sole source rate. And in the Auditor General's report,
are you saying his brother is not entitled to do business?
The Auditor General said that the contracts were inflated, and as a result, that was why they passed it through a sole sourced corridor. And so they will explain to us how they inflated and ballooned that contract, because we know that Bawumia was the one who even sat in for the Ameri Innovation scandal, because President Akufo-Addo by then had gone for an ECOWAS summit, and it was under Bawumia's watch that the Ameri scandal was ballooned from 510 to 1.3 billion. So Bawumia is an expert in ballooning contracts, and next year by this time, prime suspect 1 Bawumia will be explaining to us. My worry is how they will feel when the laws finally start prosecution. But you see, the good news is that the Ghanaian people have seen that President Mahama is clean as cow milk. President Mahama is as pure as an angel. The man has Ghana at heart. The man will never steal from the state. The man will never balloon a contract. The nation builder, President Mahama, is one person who worked diligently, and nobody has anything to stain on him. Next year by this time, Bawumia will be answering questions on the Palugu irrigation dam. I'll land on this. $12 million squandered, yet no job done. If you don't have pity, if you don't feel pity for even anybody, feel pity for your own countrymen. $12 million they squandered and have abandoned the Kwalugu irrigation dam. Next year by this time, Baumia will be in the witness box
Well,
as
there have
prime
been responses
suspect one.
that the
And
project
then-
itself in excess of over 900 million.
And so where's the $12 million?
Well, according to the
So
irrigation
don't
authority,
worry, explain it to him. Next year by this time,
Feasibility studies.
Nanado will be telling us what was in the brown envelope he took with his 2 hands. And for me, I know that the office that labeled him the mother serpent of corruption will not delay in throwing such people behind bars. And we'll be in this country. Let no man, Roland, let no man come begging President Mahama or the NDC to temper justice with mercy, because President Mahama availed himself and they will need to avail themselves just like he has done. Ghanaians will now put away the rice and vote based on policy. And we are certain that clean President Mahama will emerge victorious in the upcoming election.
Ajantwa, is there a precedent now set following this? A former president, even after the 3 years, taking through some proceedings of investigations, and so perhaps that becomes a way for us.
Perhaps. Good morning.
Morning.
Perhaps. We've seen it in Trump. We've seen it in Pakistan. We've seen it in Zuma. So perhaps, I think, would we have the balls to follow it through? Roland, one thing that amazes me is that before this particular case was referred to the OSP by the president through Bediatiu, his executive secretary, the cases in the UK and in America had already been heard and verdicts given. The president is a lawyer. Bediatiu is a lawyer. Did they read through the verdicts before taking it to the OSP? Or they took it to the OSP just because they felt that let's pin him irrespective of what the international courts have said. And they took it. And now, who has egg on his face? If it was taken for a spurious reason and not for fact, there was egg on his face. And this will happen to all those who follow after this. This would happen to President Akufo-Addo, will happen to all his appointees who, rumor has indicated that they have done what? They have involved themselves in corruption. Look, unfortunately, it's the people who are caught in between. People are caught in between.
In between what?
The kind of adversary politics that we play, the kind of lies we talk about each other in higher office, the people are caught in between. Because quite a number of people believed what was said about this particular deal where President Mahama is concerned, because of the way it had been pushed by the opposition, even on this platform. And you know, it's unfortunate that the MPP have boycotted this platform. It would have been great if they were sitting here.
Very great.
So that we could, you know, listen to what they have to say about this. I heard the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP on the news explain that the OSP didn't investigate this thing properly.
That's Haruna.
Yes. I wish you play it.
It's a joke.
He didn't investigate this thing properly. He didn't consider so many things. But if you read the document, it says for security purposes, a lot of the correspondence have been redacted because of the security implication. So what is Haruna talking about? What is the MPP talking about? That now you don't believe the OSP. However, when the OSP went the other way where Abnada Power is concerned, you were clapping. Huh? You can't be a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at the same time. You can't.
Dr. Jekyll
And Mr. Hyde. It's a story. If you read books, you know who those two characters were. You can't be a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at the same time. And it's high time. Look, I've come to conclude that the democracy we have is a democracy of elections and a democracy of procurement. It's not a democracy of development. I've come to that conclusion.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
Because It's only during election time that you see, hey. After election, when you voted, everything dies down. And when you now vote the parties into power, procurement takes a much higher stance than development. Look through. But if you're doing procurement, and the procurement is being done honestly, you can't accuse somebody of doing wrong when you don't have the facts. So right now, I ask President Akufo-Addo, where are the facts of this case that you feel President Mahama is guilty? Where? Show us.
They lie.
He certainly stood on rulings and the special prosecutor has again stated that in jurisdictions in the U.S. as well as even the SFO office, when we're talking about the United Kingdom as well.
What did those
And for any president, the question then would be perhaps he thought there was something that again needed to be probed further because the matter concerned somebody within our jurisdiction in high office at the time.
So those rulings that were given, did it actually mention the president's name, the ex-president's name? Was it in there? For me, I believe the only time you can pinpoint is when you see that there is personal interest other than his official duties. That thing in the Constitution, 57(6), that says, in respect of anything done or omitted, to be done by him in his personal capacity. What covers personal capacity? If he's doing something outside the Constitution, if he's doing something for private interests, and sometimes if he's doing something where there is a certain connection to that private interest, and he's doing it through someone else. I believe, and Malik indicated, that conflict of interest situation, when you look at the conflict of interest situation, there's quite a lot enumerated in this particular presidency. That conflict of interest situation. When Kanufuriata, with every bond he goes and he brings, and his interest seems to be catered for, is that conflict of interest?
You mean with Data Bank?
Yes, Data Bank.
With Data Bank?
Yes. You said, if I can use the word, he redacted himself from Data Bank, but he's still a shareholder. Is he part of Enterprise? What has happened with Enterprise today? Do they not control all government insurance? Wasn't it SIC who were doing it?
Okay.
So that conflict of interest issue is an issue that needs to come up.
Okay. Now, we've been joined by a leading member of the MPP, political scientist, astute academic as well, Dr. Amwakuba, joining us from the Ashanti Regional Capital. Good morning to you, Dr. Amwakuba.
Good morning. I hope you're doing well.
Okay. And what do you make about this becoming perhaps the precedent for which we can then start holding to account our former heads of state, including their vice president and their assigns, going forward?
Well, I don't see how, really, because it's not clear cut. It's a beginning, but it doesn't really pave the way for us to say that now, from now on, you can do this or do that. It is the president's opinion, hopefully informed opinion, that will direct the law enforcement people to investigate someone. Well, the whole world doesn't work that way. If you want to get you for elections or whatever, the first investigate him. And most of the time, when they do that, that alone will bring you down, because people assume this investigation is guilt until they come out and exonerate you. At that time, most of the time, it's too late. So we don't really have a way forward. We have to have a purposeful law that requires the president to show proof before he can inform law enforcement to investigate someone. And this was happening in the U.S. Under Nixon, for example, until he was investigating his enemies, political enemies. And so the Congress made a law that requires that you have to go to court and show proof before you can start that. And that was a good beginning. And that's what we need to do. The president himself does not have to go to court, but his subordinates can go to court on his behalf and show proof of what's going on before they can start investigation. That preserves the idea of innocent until proven guilty. The way it is now, the moment the president says investigate, it's assumed guilty. And most of the time, as in the case of Mahama, look at how long it's taken, almost 8 years. And by the time we hear this, it's good. It's come, so it's good. At least in the next election, I'm sure it will help him. But we should not entertain lies from men such as these who use every opportunity to get ahead. No fair play. And since he's in charge, whatever he says is what the subordinates do. So your assertion that we have a way forward, well, it's a good beginning, but it's not necessarily a way forward until the parliament passes a law stipulating what should happen before someone goes under investigation. If the president's pronouncement is false, it stops it right there. Or he has to show proof, some kind of proof, not just conjecture or suspicion. That would be a better way.
Okay. So if you take what you're suggesting, how do we make sure that we marshal the various institutions of state to be able to make sure that going forward that becomes the way we have to undertake, whether it's we have to amend or perhaps also add on, so that if heads of states in their personal capacities undertake some of these undertakings and flout regulations, then they are held more accountable. How do we begin this whole conversation?
Okay, well, I think in our country too often, the players involved are not held to account. There has to be a personal liability for a high officer who willingly does the wrong thing. He should be held to account. And so you cannot hide behind the idea of order from above or anything like that. That should come in because you should know your job whilst you are doing it, not somebody telling you to do it, to do something. That is a no-brainer. Means they can pick a carpenter to do it, or somebody will tell him to do something. But if you stand to lose, you'll be punished because you didn't do your job well. That too will inform the president to be careful to tell you to investigate, because you may flat out refuse. Because to the contrary, what you see is not what he sees, and you have to convey that to him. And if he refuses, then it will become insubordination or whatever, and you must quit, and you quit. And that alone will put him on notice. He has to be careful.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we have to have stipulations that if the officer refuses to do it, the president pressures him to do it against the law, the president should be held to account. We should state what will happen to the president, who should investigate the president, on, so that he too is not above the law. That's how it should be. Very often we behave as if the president is above the law, and whatever he says is law. No, it isn't. And so we have to make people, the key players, aware that you stand to be punished or to be brought to court, fined, jailed, whatever. And so when you're doing your job, don't just listen to what the president says.
Okay. Well, so, where do we begin then? Especially with suspicions of conflict of interest situations that might have been witnessed over the period, and then also having that main conversation that we need to take the bull by the horn to make sure that we hold those we entrust in public office, but more so those who are at the head of that executive arm of government, more responsible than what the Constitution stipulates.
I think where to start is to create the right political culture. The right culture, that is the only way in which we can sustain democracy. and that culture that makes us hold leadership accountable. Yeah, understand? Because I think I've said it here before. Clearly, why did the president undertake this venture? Was he undertaking it because he sought to he sought justice for Ghana, or he undertook this venture because he felt that he could make political capital out of it? Because especially in the light of what Itapadie has told us, that the reason why he became president was not to pursue a Ghana agenda, but to pursue his own.
This Itapadie is not their document.
It is their document.
We've established it.
It is their document. I think we've moved past whether it's their document or not. Right now, it is their document. And what Itapadie has told us, that the reason why he does these things is not because of Ghana. The reason why he does these things is because he's pursuing his own agenda. So what was the reason behind pushing, what's it called?
The special prosecutor?
As in pushing this case to the OSP. Or was it because he was seeking justice for Ghana? Or he felt that he would malign a former president of Ghana? A former president of Ghana to score political points. You see, because part of the central duty of leadership of a president is to build that culture that will also sustain democracy. You understand? Now, and to prevent situations that will detract our confidence or our belief in public leadership. You understand? What has Anano done to build that right political culture that can sustain democracy in this country? Especially when, first of all, in his party, he's created a culture that dictates that when you're taking decisions, your first consideration should be, what is in it for me? The MPP, when they're taking the decisions, what's their consideration? Is their consideration Ghana? Or their consideration, the individual members, their consideration is, what is in it for me? So he killed the culture in the party. The culture in the MPP right now is a parochial culture. A culture that says that when I'm taking decisions, my consideration should be, what is in it for me? Now, because of that, he managed to become president. And he wants to create, instead of using his...
He didn't manage, he was elected.
Yeah, but he was chosen by the MPP,
okay.
a party that he had changed their culture to one that dictates that when they were choosing him, their consideration was, what is in it for me? At least that's what the Itapadie has told us. So right now, we understand why he didn't see anything wrong with Brian Champo's attempt to buy, what's it called?
Nabadi Beach.
He didn't see anything wrong with it. We now understand why he sat aloof, even though a trust has been created in him, and allowed his party people to undertake galamsey, destroying our environment, destroying our water bodies. Yeah. It's that same consideration that caused him to sit down and allow Jan Krume's baby daddy to scam us with this ambulance issue. It's that same consideration that has caused him to push this issue against a former president of Ghana. It's not about John Mahama. It's about
the office.
His office. When you are dealing
What
with,
is wrong with that?
If
he suspects,
and that's what my brother rightly said. Did you not read the judgments from the
jurisdictions of the US and the UK?
Because you see, when a matter concerns the president of Ghana, they must not be handled like any other. Because John Mahama, for all intents and purposes, is a former president of Ghana, and we should accord him that respect. So when Nanado was pushing the matter and causing the OSP to undertake these investigations, what was his focus? What was his consideration? You understand? And that's what I'm saying, that the starting point for me is a collective decision to create the right political culture. We need to create the right political culture.
What do you think is missing?
Commitment. Commitment from our politicians, commitment from our political parties, and commitment from the media. Because in the art of creating the right political culture, one of the most critical institutions is the media, the fourth estate, because you have the power to drive public opinion. But the media in this country, the CSOs, and last week I gave an example, I don't want to go there anymore. But the way the CSOs and you, the media, most of you, not all of you.
But you can say generally, you can lump all of us together. The media is an institution, so.
So generally, majority of you.
Okay.
Are what? Paid media, and you did the media in this country, essentially are used like mercenaries. Forgetting that, unless and until we create that right political culture, which culture can only be created when we direct public opinion towards building the people of Ghana, that attitude of, first of all, tolerating diverse views, but most importantly, holding leadership accountable. Because by now we should be up in arms against Nana for this evil that he's done against the president of Ghana. He's done an evil against the president of Ghana and indirectly against all the people of Ghana by pushing an agenda when really he had no reason to. And the Japade exposes him. Because beyond the Japade telling us that the reason why he takes his decision is not because of Ghana, but because of his personal interest. Okay. In the Japade, there was a prophecy about what they were going to do to...
Airbus. I'll read it.
I think it's paid 25. So you understand. So, just to paraphrase, if anything is clear from what has happened under Nanado's watch, is that we do not have a choice. We've reached a stage in our politics where we do not have a choice, but collectively to build the right political culture that will not only sustain our democracy, but that will also ensure that we have the best chance of getting the right people to lead our country.
Malik, political culture and making sure that the precedent that has been set, so at least we also have the right type of atmosphere for accountability.
Dankwa asked a fantastic question.
Which is what?
He said he's been wondering why President Akufo-Addo, Bawumia and the MPP cartel will always engage in such wicked acts of lying and defaming people. He asked a question. Dankwa, it's on page 33 of the Japade document. The document that has intentions of whaling this country to the descendants of Nanado and Bawumia. Page 33 says, the 2020 elections will not be easy for us with the current happiness. We need to set up, because it was written before 2020. Now, moving forward, we need not to be quiet about the Airbus scandal. Even though we don't have enough evidence to indict Mr. Mahama, a lot of Ghanaians are buying into our approach. Let's not stop. Let's keep hitting hard. This is in the Japade and it further states, because President Mahama is the only one who can stop Mr. Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia from willing the properties of this country to their descendants. Only President Mahama. And that is why you find Mr. Akufo-Addo mounting platforms and saying he will never hand over to President Mahama, because he knows what he has done and he knows what President Mahama will be doing to him. You see, Roland, I said here that if I were Bawumia, from today, this morning, I would just put my hands on my head, and every 2 minutes I'll do every 2 minutes because I have been salivating to know how Nanado and Bawumia ended up in the pocket of Nyantechi. I keep asking myself, Nanado with his size was able to go into the pocket of Nyantechi. Next year by this time, inshallah, you and I would hear from Nyantechi how he conquered Mr. Akufo-Addo with $5 million, put him in his pocket. How he conquered Bawumia to the extent Bawumia was shaking the head like a lizard and he put him in his front pocket.
Nyantechi says
we
that
will understand.
He was just huffing
yes. So next year,
bluffing.
Don't worry. Next year by this time, we will hear more. I've been salivating to know. The day Mr. Akufo-Addo took brown envelope with 2 hands and they pulled it back and he sat down, I kept asking myself, how much will be in this brown envelope to the extent Mr. Akufo-Addo will be shaking to take it? Next year by this time, prime suspect 1, Bawumia and Nanado, will be explaining to us how they took those things. And Roland,
how do we create the right atmosphere? Ask the question.
Yes, I feel that the Ghanaian people are highly interested in accountability. I will say it 1,000 times that I'm a young man growing up. I want Ghana to prosper. I want the unborn generation to grow into a country that me, together with my generation, will sit up and do well. At least, Mr. John Tuwe's generation have had people like Nanado and the rest who have mixed their gari with stone. But us, our generation, we would expunge such people. 1.8 million Ghanaians, I keep saying, are unemployed. Why are they unemployed? Because of corruption. Because people have siphoned funds that could have been used to create jobs for the youth of this country, and they put it in their pockets. 1.8 million Ghanaians are unemployed. Why? Because we have an insensitive government, a wicked one, that has missed priority. Instead of putting 1 billion in creating jobs, they go and dig the world's most expensive hole with 1 billion in this country. You know how many jobs that could have been created? Contractors are not being paid. Why? Because Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and their ministers have awarded contracts to only their cronies, brothers, and the latest is Bawumia's own. And within 2 days, Bawumia's brother was paid over 70 million. 2 days. There's a contractor in this country watching me this morning. Government owes him just 500,000. It's been 6 years. Government has refused to pay him. Yet Bawumia's brother was paid 70 million within 2 days. It's sad how people wake up in the morning to find their banks collapsed. I was watching GN Indu roam at his banks, and he looked at the bank and he cried. He wasn't crying just because of the building, but because of the teller, the security man, the cleaner, the banker who have been sent home, all because of the negligence and wickedness of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia's government. So you see, next year, a lot of things will be done in this country, inshallah. And like I said, the right precedent has been set. When Bawumia's corrupt balls are held and squeezed, let no one sneeze in this country, because they will be asked to account, would use all those funds to develop this country, and the progress of this country will continue to lie in the hands of the nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Janto, how do we kill the right atmosphere before I go to Dr. Makuban?
You know, Roland, it's just so unfortunate that a brush has been used to paint the MPP in a different light by this administration.
Meaning what? It's not the MPP you envisaged?
It is not the MPP we saw during Kufuor's time. That is not the MPP we knew. President Akufo-Addo's MPP has just turned the whole thing upside down and made it look as if they are the only ones who can handle Ghana. They did have a convention in the MPP, didn't they? Had a convention in the MPP where secession is concerned. Hasn't it been turned on its head? It's been turned on its head, and it makes it sad to see. I hesitate to say that that is the stock in trade of the MPP, because it isn't. Isn't it in this particular administration you are hearing the word founder and founders? Isn't it in this administration? Did you hear it in Kufuor's administration? Is Kufuor not MPP? Did you hear it? Isn't it in this administration that makes it look as if Nkrumah did nothing for this country? Isn't it? So what is it about President Akufo-Addo that he feels he owns the party MPP? What is it? Look, me, my family tradition is part MPP, part CPP. I have an uncle today who is chairman of a constituency, MPP constituency in Ashanti. Today, my mother's father was a financier of the UP tradition. And when you look at the way the MPP, you put the coup times aside and let's take the Fourth Republic where the MPP has governed. You haven't seen some of the things that have happened with others who were handling the MPP at the time. Why should somebody who has been part and parcel of the MPP from the onset allowed to defect?
Why not?
And
the Constitution grants association.
Wait. You as president, if you find somebody who's instrumental or has been instrumental in your party and things going on, will you not pull him back and say, Jack, hold on, no. ABCDE, the party is something that we all made sure that we brought it to where it is. Think twice. Would you not say so?
Okay.
And it makes it look as if at this present moment, MPP is Nanado, Nanado is MPP.
All right.
Which is sad.
Dr. Makuba, okay.
And we have to be able to change the kind of trajectory that we have when we talk about ex-presidents who are not part of our party and even ex-governments that come in. We need the facts to prove that you, Roland, you were Minister for Environment. You did ABCDE. Here are the facts. Let's take you to court. But not on hearsay, not by rumor.
All right.
The right thing should be done because the way our politics is going, it's making it very treacherous, especially with the youth who currently can't make ends meet, want to leave this country, find it difficult to have 3 square meals a day, and find it difficult to even feed themselves.
Dr. Makuba, there was something that was said by lawyer Pia Dankwa, so I decided to take it round, and it's about looking at the Fourth Republic and doing a lot of introspection. We need to create the right sort of political atmosphere for accountability, and then the institutions thereof, including the media as an institution and civil society, also playing a key role to create that political culture that we need going forward. Because he says, and all of them also agree, that it looks like there's a politics of just hunting personalities for political gain, whilst undertaking actions, recourse to law for accountability. What do you say to that? How do we do that going forward, Dr. Makuba?
Well, it looks like we have forgotten our ethics in government. That alone will stop you from doing a lot of these things. Conflict of interest cannot be encouraged. Hearsay is not used to run government. What happened? If the president suspected foul play, he himself should not order people to investigate. He hands it over to a committee is set up, or the Office of Special Prosecutor to do a preliminary investigation quietly so that there is no assumption of character assassination. But he set out to do that. And so it doesn't matter, that's what has happened. But if we were to make laws to make sure just the president's pronouncements is not enough to carry out an investigation, that alone will stop it. And he should not be instructing anyone, even including the IGP, to do something, as the police used to say, order from above. He doesn't get to give such orders. Is he a policeman? Is he a soldier? Yes, he's the commander-in-chief. He can alert the people that look at this. And they have to look at it, not he himself telling them to do that. That's the problem. We have done this for so long, almost throughout our history from Nkrumah's time till now. When the president speaks, people shake. No, he's an equal citizen. So if what he's saying is according to law, we should follow it. If it's not, we shouldn't. The problem is the shooting part. Who is going to shoot it? Who is going to challenge him? And he has all the power. And so we have to look at the powers of the president and limit them appropriately. No person should be given such powers as we have in Ghana for him to be able to carry out anything he wants, including capturing the state itself with impunity. Now he comes out to say it's not true. What is not true? You are implementing what is going on in the paper. You say it's not true. What are you implementing then? That's the problem.
Which paper?
So, we know that. I was talking about the Japanese paper. You know, if it is not true, why are you doing it? That's the problem. You know, I'm sad. I don't know what to say anymore. You know, that there's just incredible criminality going on here in this country. Malfeasance. We have failed our fiduciary duty. You have failed the people stealing money left and right, paying. Haven't you heard the president gave a contract to his own daughter, $54 million, and the finance minister couldn't pay the whole thing. He gave them 10 million. To do what with? If the contract is worth 54, that's what it will take to implement that contract. What are you giving them 10 million for? To do what? To do what? 1/5 of the contract? I don't understand it. So right from the onset, the finance minister knew this is no good. This will not work. And yet, instead of saying so and stopping it, he went along to pacify him or give him 10 million to see how far. This is criminality. And we shouldn't stand for it. The country does not belong to anyone, and everyone in it is equal. You see? And you are innocent until proven guilty. You have assassinated the man's character almost 8 years. Now you're saying, well, we'll take it. It's better than never.
Do you think this sets a bad precedent, so to speak?
Well,
where we could have a future government just report the president of the day or the vice president of the day. I mean, as we say in the Ghanaian parlance, rough.
It will make people be a bit careful, but I don't think it will embolden those who want to do the right thing. The two are not the same. See, if the law is not squarely behind you, you can't do the right thing because there's a gray area, and they'll use something to get you if you go against them. So we have to look at this properly and craft laws to change the situation, to make who is responsible for this and that, and when this happens, this is what happens, things like that. You know, so far, we don't have it. And it will make people still afraid to come forward. The whistleblowers will be afraid to come forward because the ruling government can get you very easily, one way or the other.
Okay. You wanted to say something? Just 2 minutes on this so that we can wrap up.
We need to look at our constitution again.
Explain
we need to look at it. There are parts of the constitution that don't favor us. This constitution has been what, 32 years? Are you trying to tell me that it's been the status quo? What has happened before those 32, during those 32 years is happening today? Things have changed. The president's power should be looked at. That is key, if nothing at all. Should be looked at. And the president himself, he's a lawyer. He should know the things in the constitution that aren't helping the country. He should know. And why he doesn't want to do it, I do not understand. You are there to serve. You are not there to sit on our necks. Any president who is voted for, you are there to serve the people. The people make up the government, so you are there to serve the people. We need to look at this constitution. 989 pages of constitutional review is sitting on the table doing absolutely nothing. It is time for us to look at the constitution.
Okay.